Tom, I know you're very keen on benchmarking, and I know that for the last few years you've been travelling up to Glamorgan to actually participate in a benchmarking group with HDB Farm Bench in Glamorgan. Can you tell me why you were so keen to get involved in that group?
It had always been something I wanted to be a lot better at, was my cost of production and knowing that how those numbers worked, because I was always sort of fairly embarrassed that when someone asked me how much did it cost you to grow a ton of wheat, I'd sort of think, well, they reckon it's 120 in the Farmers Weekly, 130, so I'll try and act clever and say 115. But I didn't have a clue. So I started benchmarking as part of that Monitor Farm programme in Cardiff, and just found it really, really useful and really enjoyable. Got a lot out of it, made some fairly significant business changes after a few years of benchmarking. We identified areas in where we were spending far too much money, and we changed things that we did, and it's made a massive difference to the business. First couple of years, I basically did 2 years where it was a case of the first year you sort of get your figures together, and input costs you're pretty accurate on because you're recording everything you apply, you've got the invoices, it's quite easy. It's a little bit more difficult, particularly for a mixed unit like us, to sort of basically apply how much time this tractor spends on arable work compared to livestock work, etc. So it's a little bit of a learning curve in the first year or two, but we then got into the system, and then after the third, the fourth year that I did it in Cardiff, I focused really on variable costs, were my main focus then. I could see that we were spending far too much money on certain areas, and I knew that needed to change, and we took steps to change that as a business. And since sort of starting as the monitor farmer in Pembrokeshire, I'm now quite comfortable that we're doing a fairly good job. We buy all our chemicals through a local buying group. We've switched from bag nitrogen to liquid fertiliser, basically because we always had grain stores full of grain, which meant we either had to market grain earlier than I would have liked to have to cleared space to take fertiliser in, or we were lambing as well during, we lamb early February, so that's another time when a lot of fertiliser used to arrive on farm, and sheds were at a premium then. So the switch to liquid allowed me to buy fertiliser in June and July previous, so all my fertiliser was purchased last June, and this year it's really saved a lot of money, because particularly because of the exchange rate with Brexit. Nitrogen prices, as everyone knows, risen really significantly after Christmas. Well, by having the knowledge that we knew we needed to buy this fertiliser earlier in the year to gain, we took the switch to liquid, which allowed us to do that. But now, since I've taken on, I'm really focusing on reducing the machinery costs and running a leaner fleet, really. We're trying to run with just 2 tractors and a real simple cultivation system that's fast, basically, is what I want. I just want high output because we haven't got much labour. It's just me and Dad, so that's where we're focusing now, and I think that's probably where, to be honest with you, the most work can be done is on fixed costs, but fixed costs are always difficult to tackle because they're always different for everyone else, and every business is different, and tackling those, there's no sort of clear-cut answer on fixed costs. The machinery fleet that we're running is fairly cost-effective, and I think we've done that by basically being fairly shrewd in what we've purchased. We tend to buy, like I say, only 2 tractors, keep them fairly new and keep them under warranty for fixed periods. But a lot of the machinery we tend to buy when it's 3, 4, 5 years old and someone else has taken the big hit on the depreciation. The self-propelled sprayer we've got would be a good example of that, really. That was a machine we bought it back here and refurbished it, and the running costs on that was significantly lower than the group average. So that was quite nice, because you always feel as a smaller grower that you're losing out because of your lack of economies of scale. But sometimes by just thinking a little bit different to everybody else, you can save a bit of money if you can. Benchmarking becomes quite addictive once you start on it. You start really recording everything in the end, and the more you do it, the more you get into that, and the more that you can make decisions based on it then, yeah.
So you'd thoroughly recommend anyone getting involved in a benchmarking group?
I would question anyone who's running a business who doesn't, to be honest with you. It's a no-brainer, isn't it?